The Real Estate Story with Adrian Butera.
Hi everybody, Adrian Butera here, coming to you live from our West Footscray studio. Welcome to The Real Estate Story. I'm once again excited and delighted to bring you a couple of very special guests today, and our first guest here with us this afternoon in our West Footscray studio is January Jones. Welcome, January.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
January Jones from the Group Lifestyle Editor from Domain. Welcome along. It's a fairly long title, January.
It is a bit.
It's a bit of a mouthful. Look, welcome along here today. We've got a few points we want to cover off, but firstly, before we talk about the key issue, the key point that I want to cover off today, and that's our local area, the Inner West of Melbourne, in particular Footscray. Tell us a little bit about your role at Domain.
Yeah, so I've been at Domain for about 4 years now, I think, and my role is the Group Lifestyle Editor. So I commission all of the lifestyle stories for print and digital. So all of those stories you see that are architecture, interior design, home styling, living, all those kinds of things. And I also host Domain's lifestyle podcast, Somewhere Else.
So that made it fairly easy when I said to you, let's talk about podcasts. Let's join me on the Compton Green real estate story. At least you knew what a podcast was.
Yeah, but it's a bit different when you're when you're the guest, I think.
I think we all take it in our stride. Give it a few moments, we will feel right at home. Yeah. I'm sure you'll feel right at home. So your role there, Lifestyle Magazine, Lifestyle there, does that include the magazine, the publication?
Yeah, so it does. So we have regular columns in the magazine, so gardening columns, I look after that. Interior design, architecture, so all of those stories. We also do a celebrity column called Personal Space, where we talk to a well-known Australian about the things in their home that are the most important to them.
And how has the publication been affected by COVID-19? I think I know the answer, but tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so we did pause our magazines for a little bit, and there'll be more news about that coming soon.
So tell me, as part of the lifestyle editor, how entrenched do you get involved in the content? How do you control it, what you publish, what you don't, the trends?
Yeah, so I have a wonderful team of contributors who pitch stories to me, and I also work very closely with the editor of the magazine, Emily Power, and so we talk about what we think people are loving, what we think people are interested in, and then obviously in terms of digital, we can see what people read and don't read pretty quickly.
So that's looking at the analytics of what they're looking into, where the trends are going, and you can tailor the publication towards that. Yeah,
so I mean, we always want to be making sure we're creating content that our readers are interested in and resonates well with them. Yeah,
right. And tell me, how did you get into this? I mean, it sounds like a really bespoke role for Domain. How did you land it? That sounded wrong, actually. I don't know you well enough to ask you that. No. But how did you come to this role?
So I was working for another Fairfax publication called, it's actually been rebranded as Domain Review, but it was the Weekly Review. So I was working there as a journalist, but I was in the same office as the Domain editorial team. This role came up and I applied for it and been there ever since. So I've been with the Fairfax, Nine family for a little while now.
Right. Okay. And I did see through your profile that you did spend some time abroad.
Yeah. So when I was in my undergraduate degree, I did 2 semesters abroad. So I did one in upstate New York and I did another in England. And then once I finished my master's degree, I lived in LA for a little while.
Yeah, right. And so coming back to Melbourne, was it a no-brainer back to Melbourne? Family and friends are here?
I guess so, yeah. I think when you're away for a little while, it's wonderful and it's exciting, but you miss the people that you care about the most, I think.
So back to Melbourne. Were you a Westie then? Were you from the Inner West of Melbourne, or?
So my mum lives in the West, and I lived in the West till I was 10, and then moved out to Eltham.
Became a greenie?
Yeah. And then I lived in when I was studying at uni, I lived in various north side suburbs, so North Fitzroy, Collingwood, Brunswick, and then, now I'm back over here. So come full circle.
So the decision to come back here, and this is going to nicely transition into our conversation about the Inner West and namely Footscray. The decision to come back here, was there something that brought you here other than family?
Yeah, definitely. So right before we moved here, we were living in St Kilda and we were looking to buy, I guess I'd gotten to a point, I'd seen enough houses, beautiful houses and apartments on Domain that I realised that I wanted one for myself. So after a while saving, I was starting to look. And initially I wanted to get an apartment in the St Kilda Elwood area. So looking for an Art Deco 2-bedroom apartment of a decent size. And what I was realising was that for around the same price as that, I could get a house in the Inner West. So that's kind of when I started to think, oh, well, maybe, maybe for that little bit extra, I could get something that, not going to outgrow as quickly. So that's why we started looking over here. And obviously my mum's here and she was very happy to have me back here.
I bet. It's always nice to have mum close by. So you bought in the Inner West. Let's move to that. You bought in the Inner West. Was it a couple of years ago?
Yes, I think it's just been 2 years now.
Yeah, right. So very exciting.
Yeah.
It's been, I'm sure, a great 2 years. I know one of the team, Gerard, we're going to talk to Gerard a little later. He's here in the studio for those that can see him on the live stream right now. Gerard has driven past. You've made a few changes to the home, which is fantastic, and well done and congratulations to that.
Thank you.
I think when we talk about Footscray and there's plenty of our clientele that, thinking, why Footscray, what's so special about it? I think it's just changed in the short time that I've been in this business. And I say short time, I've been here 15 years and Footscray's in many ways done full circle. And I love sharing the excitement about Footscray and what it has to offer. But as part of you as a resident here, what do you find cool? Where's your hangouts?
So many things. I love the restaurant cafe culture here. And I just think when we were looking, we had a few friends that had also moved to the area. So I think that was a big thing for us. And I just think there's a lot of young people, a lot of young families moving into the area. And that was something we were really looking at and something we really like about the area. I think it's, you go out walking, you see everyone with their dogs or their kids, and it's got a real community feel. I think that's probably an Inner West thing as well. I always found that my mum lives in Yarraville and I always found that in Yarraville as well. It's almost like a country town, just outside the city. And I think Footscray has that as well. I think there's a really strong community and that was really important to us when we were looking to buy.
It's an interesting word, community. It means so much to so many variables to so many people. And I understand the meaning that you describe about Footscray because I believe in it absolutely and wholeheartedly. The community, it doesn't matter whether you're a young couple, same-sex couple, an older Vietnamese, an older Australian that may have lived here for 60 years. That sense of immediate bond and community is really apparent. I'm a blow-in. I've been in the West here for 20 years. But I certainly agree and feel that same sense of community. And not to try and sound biased, but I don't think exists in the same way across the rest of the state. I can't talk about the rest of the country, but in my experiences across other suburbs and municipalities, the West is quite unique in that sense. Now tell me, when I like to get down to the nitty-gritty, the the down and dirty parts of Footscray, not literally, but I like to know about what are your favourites? Do you have a favourite cafe?
Yeah, I love Dumbo. That's just in West Footscray. And I also love Rudimentary. They're probably my two favourite ones. So Rudimentary is really cool. I don't know if you've been there, but it's a shipping container that they've turned into a cafe. Yep. And Dumbo is another favourite.
Yeah, when Rudimentary opened up, that was like, wow, shipping containers, but they look fairly permanent. Don't look like they're going to go anywhere in a hurry.
No, and they've got their garden that they grow outside. Yeah. It's just, and they've got that beautiful outside area. On a nice summer day, that's a great spot to be.
Gerard, do you know Dumbo?
I do.
Have you bought coffee there?
Many a times.
There we go. So just checking.
The Rudimentary is amazing as well.
Gerard is a coffee connoisseur.
Oh.
I don't sell real estate. I just buy coffee. That's all I do.
It is true. Gerard's not contributing well to the coffee cup disposal.
No, I'm not.
So their favourite cafes, favourite restaurant, sit down.
Ooh, I really like Harley and Rose. I love a wood fire pizza.
Is that West Footscray?
Yeah.
That was there was another Italian restaurant before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So sit down, wood fire pizza.
Yep, and that's another one. I think we go with a couple of friends of ours, and especially on a nice night to sit outside. They've got the festoon lights, and to have an Aperol spritz and a wood fire pizza out there is pretty nice.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about it, and I've not been there. So we've really got to
try it.
We've got to venture there and give it a go. In fact, I'm confident that the business that used to operate there catered for when we opened up the West Footscray office.
Oh, there you go.
So, in fact, it was called Ovest, which is that's the one.
Oh.
There we go. See, we're learning as we go. Learning as we go. So Footscray is not just famous for restaurants. It's got some really cool bars. Tell us what's been your highlight. What's been on the radar?
You know what? I'm actually not that much of a bar person, I have to say. I'm currently pregnant, so I haven't been drinking for a while.
I was glad you brought that up because a little birdie told me.
Yeah, but I don't have much to show for it at the moment. So, so I haven't I've been off the wagon.
Okay.
Yeah, is that the right expression? I've been not drinking for quite a while now. Yeah.
So there's some wonderful bars, and we're from Mr. West to Back Alley Sally's. What's the one around the corner, Gerard, from Back Alley Sally's that we actually had a company awards night there?
Not Littlefoot.
No. We
We
paid Shuffleboard.
That's Slice Sisters.
Behind Slice
Slice
Sisters.
Sisters.
Behind.
I've gone a blank now. I thought it was Back Alley Sally's.
No, it's behind Back Alley Sally's. There are probably people watching this live, and there are. That's gonna.
Who are screaming the answer.
Yeah, help us
This is
out.
the answer. I'm not sure what that. It'll come to me. We'll keep talking. It'll come to me, and we will work out the answer to that. But if you were on the wagon, where would it be?
Probably Mr. West.
Right.
Yeah, been there with friends before. And Littlefoot as well, I really like. I think that's got a really cool vibe.
Where's Littlefoot?
Littlefoot's just on Barclay Street, isn't it? It's just...
It's where I sold 1201 Barclay, the
Yep.
penthouse apartment, directly across the road from that.
Right.
Directly across.
Never been there.
Yep.
Yeah, you're welcome to take me there, Gerard. That's it. Let's give it a crack. I think it would be wonderful a wonderful experience. And any takeaways? I know there's been some really famous and well-known burger places and some other lovely eateries. Is there anything else you can tell our listeners about that's a fave?
Yeah, Sapa Hills is a bit of a fave.
Sapa Hills?
Yeah, it's pretty delicious. And that would be eat-in too, as well as takeaway, but that's pretty yum.
Where's that?
That's on Barclay Street as well. And there's also Sapa's Sister is next door. I think they've got the restaurant next door as well.
I'm going to guess. I've not heard of it. Vietnamese?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's delicious.
First restaurant I went to in Footscray was Sapa Hills.
Really?
Yep. When I first came here.
Second date night for you and I.
And I also don't mind a bit of 8-bit as well, if I'm feeling in the mood for a burger.
Yep.
Normally the
And a
day after
milkshake.
Mr. West?
Yeah.
Quite possibly.
No, there were a few milkshake cravings lately, so yeah.
Oh yeah, that's been the thing.
Not heaps, but especially when we couldn't go anywhere in quarantine. So yeah, that was nice to get some takeaway and stuff from there.
I must confess, my two daughters, it's diverting from the topic of Footscray, but between two buns, the thick shakes, if you want to take it to the thick shake level, between two buns, very, very nice.
I'll remember that one.
You haven't had Slice Shop? Have you had pizzas from Slice Shop?
No.
Oh, the best. It's the closest to New York pizza you'll find.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Great.
All right, so Footscray is not all about alcohol and food, as much as I make it out to be. I think it's a great culture, and that bar hopping culture that we've seen, and there's been some good stories that may have stemmed from this office and people that I know that have gone from bar to bar and somewhere slip in a little bit of food in between. But it's got more to offer other than that. What else is a favourite location about Footscray for our listeners that are probably listening to this podcast and saying, Footscray, I know the Footscray, the Western Bulldogs, the football ground, and Footscray to some people, particularly Victorians, is not a great place to live. Now, I'm here to tell them that that's changed and there's some wonderful places. Where else is a fave for you to visit?
We've got a dog, so we go on a lot of walks. So Footscray Park is really beautiful. There's lots of little parks and green spaces around. That was something that really surprised me moving into the area, and we go on different walks and through different streets and things all the time, and we're always finding tiny little parks, and I really like that aspect of it as well. And the houses are beautiful. I mean, if you love that older style of home, the houses are really beautiful. You can get a lovely looking house. I think ours was built in 1925. You can get some really beautiful properties, and I just love walking around and looking at all the houses.
I think it's a really good point. Gerard, I'll put you on the spot. Do you, off the top of your head, know the median price for Melbourne right now?
For Melbourne itself?
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay.
$865.
$865? Is that median price, I should say? Because I believe that Footscray will allow you to buy a period home for the median price. And that's quite rare in Victoria, in Melbourne particularly.
Footscray still represents unbelievable value, taking into account period homes, proximity to the city. It still doesn't equate, if you look at the distance on the other side of the city, whatever it is, it still represents unbelievable value.
Yeah.
From 10 years ago, 15 years ago till today.
Yeah, and that was something that I really wanted a period home. I mean, we went from looking at an Art Deco apartment to then I wanted something something kind of around the era that we got, and we were really lucky with that. So
the median price sale is currently $893,000 on the REIV website. So there you go. That's in real time.
Well, Footscray's median house price in the first quarter did crack $1 million.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
First time in its history.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a really interesting fact for our listeners to see that Footscray's just ticked over the edge. January, before we let you go, and we were delighted that you came in, and it's a nice little burst and a fresh face and a new person to get some insights in the inner west of Melbourne. And we're going to run a series of episodes now where we get to talk to some individuals within each suburb and talk about the great bits of every suburb, moving from not only Footscray right across all the way to Williamstown, Spotswood, Newport, Kingsville, Seddon, and so on. There's about 10 core suburbs in the inner west. So we're delighted that you could be part of that first segment telling us about Footscray. Now, before we let you go, do you have any passions that you can share with us? What's your fave? What do you get up to? You've told us that you're pregnant. Can we ask, when are you due?
I'm due mid-October.
Very exciting. Post-COVID.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be spring, and we'll be all out, and hopefully no more cases of COVID.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting times ahead. One of the true joys of life, kids, absolutely. And expecting, you're married.
Yeah.
And enjoying life. Oh, I meant to ask you, and I forgot to ask you, this is going back to the very beginning. How do you get to work every day? This is talking about the transport of Footscray.
Yeah, so at the moment, we're working from home. Domain made that decision really early on, which was great. But normally I drive or I get public transport to South Melbourne. So, public transport's really easy. It's very, very quick to get from Footscray to the city. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about Footscray, or people that don't know the West very well, is just how close. It's so close to the city. It's unbelievably close.
How long does it take you to get in?
Oh, I don't know, like 20-something minutes. I think all up probably 20-something minutes, and that's including like a walk once I get to the other side. But I think the train is something like 11 minutes or something.
11 minutes,
yeah, it's so quick. But you know what? Even driving's not bad. Sometimes I'll drive just because if I've got something on after work, or it's just easier. And that only takes me, if I leave, at a decent time in the morning, that's only about 25 minutes.
Yeah, fantastic.
So
now your office is right near the South Melbourne market.
Yeah.
Do you visit the South Melbourne market or the Footscray market?
You know what? I feel a bit disloyal to Footscray, but I do go to South Melbourne market only because I'm there during the week, and it's really easy to duck out at lunchtime and head to the market and
Makes
come back.
sense.
Yeah.
I get it.
But I need to get into the Footscray market. I need someone to take me and show me around and show me all the good spots.
And as you walk out of the market doors, look across the road, and there's Cavalli. Get some fresh cannolis.
Oh, yum. Okay.
Ready for dessert.
That sounds perfect.
January Jones, thank you for joining us. It's been a delight to have you here on the show. Please hang around to the end, and we'll see you all just after this break.
Thank you.
Are you on the move with a smartphone in hand? Go to comptongreen.com.au and our mobile-friendly website will make it easy to find the latest listings for sale and rent in the Inner West.
Well, there we have it. It was great to listen to January, and thank you all for listening on as we're going to touch on Footscray in a moment. But before we do that, I'm just going to briefly give you an insight into our next real estate story. Today's story is very, very simple one. It was one that's dated back about 4 years and it's been continuing on, and one that only 18 months ago, Compton Green were blessed to win a wonderful award. It was the Community Service Award through the Real Estate Institute of Victoria. This stems from a project that Compton Green got involved in with Melbourne University, or I should say the University of Melbourne, in a project with their social work team. And through the innovation of the Hobsons Bay Community Fund, and one that I'm a part of as well, we were able to bring some social work students completing their masters, their mature age students, into the Compton Green office here at West Footscray. And in doing so, those 6 master's students, through year on, year off, moving on over the last 4 odd years, have completed their research project out of our real estate office. It's very unusual and one of the very rare times that the University of Melbourne have placed students at a real estate firm, and I should say, in fact, private sector at all. Usually, these social work students are placed in public sector. But working out of our office, we donate the space in kind, and I give them a little bit of adjunct mentorship along the way, and I'm able to coach them with some of their work with the councils, working through what we've created as an inclusion program for kids with mental challenges and mental health issues, and working with their social ability through inclusion in sport. An amazing program. I could talk a long time about it, but the true benefit we've experienced is the students get to associate and work with our team. Now think about it, a real estate team dealing with problems day in, day out, landlords, tenants, dealing with those problems. These social work students get to see how we communicate, and they learn those communication skills, at least we think they do. They learn those communication skills and bring that out into the community together with their research and their knowledge. And in addition to that, our team get to learn the social responsibilities that they could produce and they can present to the marketplace as well. It's a project that has been wonderful for the community. It covers the whole Inner West, predominantly the Hobsons Bay community, but the Melbourne University and Hobsons Bay Community Fund project has been a real winner, and we're very grateful to have been a part of it. That's my story.
Have you used the Keep Me Posted button on our website? Just click Keep Me Posted and fill in your requirements, and you'll automatically receive all our up-to-date listings as they appear.
Well, there we have it. We're almost coming to an end. But before we do that, I get the chance today to continue the conversation about Footscray. We've got Gerard Hannan in the studio. I know many of you have already seen. He's made a few comments with January about the Inner West and Footscray. But I've asked Gerard to come along today to not only talk about the Inner West, but to talk about a specific property indeed. Gerard, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's great to have you in the studio today. So tell us quickly about your latest listing coming up on the market for sale in Footscray.
It's in West Footscray. It's something pretty special, actually. It's 34 Richelieu Street in West Footscray. I'd have to say that after 7-8 years of selling in West Footscray, it'd be one of the most unique homes that we've come across, and I think you agree when you walk through as well. Before we went there, I actually Google Maps it, and I thought, oh my God, where are we going? But then we turned up and we walked inside, and it was very special. It's fair to say there's love, and it's very unique inside.
So we're not going to put any pictures on the podcast here, and no one's going to get to see it unless they jump online this evening. But try and describe the feeling and the picture that we can sense and see.
It's like I've walked into Europe, a little country in Europe, whether it's Italy or it's just a little Italian villa almost, and all the good parts. It wasn't my style, and I walked in. I could live here straight away. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is attention to detail. This home, straight away, attention to detail.
Yeah, we both got that sense and that feeling immediately. And there's something to be said with when someone is presenting a home and the feeling you get, it's not just in the fixtures and the fittings, it's in the detail. And I know last week's episode we had Amanda Strider from Style Warrior talk to us about styling and presenting a home. But this home here has a real natural sense of styling. I don't know a better way to describe that. How would you add to the styling?
I think it's, it's the owners, it's their personal styling along with not just the fixtures and fittings, but the materials. It's just they've chosen 1,000 things and it just works. Everything from, they've kept certain aspects of the home. So they bought it over 8 years ago and they've restored it, but they've kept certain aspects of the home. So the terrazzo flooring there, and they've incorporated, original Italian tiles in the dining room, the marble bench tops in the kitchens, kitchen one, even the bathroom, the marble in there. It's something you walk in, and it'll hit the internet tonight. It's something you walk in, you go, wow, it's not West Footscray. It's not necessarily the West. I mean, January's home is a beautiful period home, and West Footscray and Footscray, heaps of Victorians, Edwardians, whatever it is. But this one here, it's something out of the box, something very special. And I think if you go online and have a look at it, you'll realise that it's not something you'll see every day, but, wow, you can potentially fall in love with it straight away.
Yeah, agree. Let's quickly touch on West Footscray. Now, we've spent 15 odd minutes talking about Footscray itself, although there were some real highlights there, January, from West Footscray. Tell me a bit about West Footscray, our listeners. How far is that from Footscray Central? What are the suburbs around it? Give us a quick insight.
Well, it's surrounded by Maidstone, Braybrook, and Footscray as well. So from central West Footscray to central Footscray, walking distance, it's going to be 15-20 minutes, depending on how far you are. Or you jump in the car, it takes a couple of minutes. They are so close, Footscray and West Footscray, as January was saying, that one of her favourite cafes is technically in West Footscray. So there is that borderline. Sometimes you might think you're in West Footscray or Footscray, but you're in the opposite suburbs. There's predominantly a lot of young families moving in there. Land size, people coming from... It's so funny how so many times I've sold a home to a property... Sorry, I've sold a property to a buyer, and they've come from Elwood. They've come from a beautiful Art Deco apartment in Elwood, and they needed that space, and they've come and visited friends, and they've realised, hey, this is pretty cool. So, and a lot of people looking at upsizing in surrounding suburbs like Yarraville or Seddon, they want that land size, but they don't have a cheeky 2.5 million anymore. So they come over to West Footscray.
Yeah, well, Gerard is 100% right. It's a beautiful property. I can't stress it's worth a look. In face value, you might drive past it, but when you have a wander through the photos, or particularly come through the open homes, we're allowed to conduct open homes again, maximum of 20 people. I think we might test that maximum with this property here. I really hope we do. Gerard Hannan, thanks for joining us. January Jones, thank you for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining The Real Estate Story. We'll see you next week.
The Real Estate Story brought to you by Compton Green.